Locking in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to episode 6
Hello.
of the Lotus Pod podcast.
I'm into the Vladimir impressions now.
The Vladimir impression.
It's because I was talking about vampires today.
Vladimir. What's Zelensky's first name? Is it Vladimir Zelensky? I can't remember.
For some reason, I thought sodomy, but then I was like, that's not his name.
Pretty sure. I don't know if Zelensky's his first name or his last name.
Zelensky.
Did you see Zelensky? Did you see Zelensky in the Oval Office with Trump?
Yes, I liked
it. Was plastered all over the news.
I thought it was really... Whenever I see Trump, like, he just doesn't look real.
He is a bit of a caricature.
Like, it just seems like he's acting.
It's so much more exciting to watch American politics than it is anything to do with Australian politics.
It is, and they have such nice wood in all their rooms. That's what I noticed.
Well, the White House and the Oval Office is just like, dude, did you ever go to Canberra and get a tour of the Parliament House?
It's boring
as. So fucking dry and boring. And, you know, apparently Canberra has the highest per capita of, like, sex shops than any other state in Australia.
Really?
So there's nothing else to do besides fuck yourself.
Wow, they're all just trying to de-stress.
Literally.
From the weight of Australia on their shoulders.
I also find it weird that Canberra and ACT is the most open when it comes to growing marijuana. You can grow, like, 2 plants.
What's the other one?
Backyard. ACT Canberra.
Oh, right, it's the same
essentially
thing.
The same thing.
Yeah,
but it's like a little section inside Canberra.
Well, isn't it because the politicians need to, like, their kids, something about their kids?
I don't know.
Like, if their kids get in trouble, then at least it's legal what they're doing.
Makes sense. It's just interesting that, like, the laws can get, I guess, passed there and change so much more quickly, but I don't know. I'm not really too stoked with how Australia's been going about the legalization of cannabis, and I know it was always going to come in a very bureaucratic way, but it's very much become this old boys club where it's like, to even be a person who wants, like, I want to be an entrepreneur in the cannabis space, but you're sort of priced out if you weren't at the round table of all the lobbying before a lot of these laws came in, and even if you want to get the licensing to open a distributor or, like, things, you just can't do it. And even people who, for example, sold, like, vaporizers, like brands like Puffco and, like, stores Bickle, just like at your average smoke shop, can't sell them anymore because the TGA has regulated all vaporizers as, like, paraphernalia use, which can now only be sold by licensed distributors like Relief and all of these things.
Are you talking about, like, cannabis vape?
Yeah.
Like THC vape?
Yeah. So, you know, you'd go into, like, Smoke Dreams or something, or, like, a smoke shop, and you could buy, like, fucking whatever. You could buy, like...
I didn't know you could buy weed vapes from smoke shops.
Well, yeah, you can.
Why was I not told this when I was 16 and I actually wanted it?
you can buy bongs, you can buy, like, rolling papers and stuff, and then there's some places that are more high-end that sell the more sort of higher-end stuff. But now there's even brands online, like australianvaporizers.com.au, that have just been... they've just been completely put out of business because the TGA's just come along and go, oh, you know what? I know you've been running this business for 5 years and all you're doing is, like, not selling drugs. You're just selling, like, models of vaporizer from different countries, and they've just banned it all, and their whole business is just fucked.
That's such a shame.
It is a shame.
Those poor people.
Yeah, but it is, like, I guess the steps that it needs to go when it comes to adopting, like, a more open sort of, I guess, legalization, recreational culture. It has this very over bureaucratic stance, and I feel like maybe in 10 years, I'm just waiting for the time we can have cannabis in live events. So
you're basically saying, can we just make it illegal again so I can get it cheaper and easier?
Nah, I'm just saying, like, we just, like, it's just weird. I like the idea of decriminalization more than legalization, but legalization, when it becomes, in an essence, regulated, is good in the sense of, like, you know, people aren't growing, like, weed with mold in it and putting it out, but also it's like, if you're gonna only restrict the regulation to a select... It's like a monopoly in a way. It's like a very small oligarchy of an industry. It's like, we're going to legalize it, you're going to get it, but now it's like only people in this circle can be the providers. And it's like...
But yeah, I mean, as you said, it's like, it's quality control.
Yeah.
But also it's not, like, in the dark side of it, it's also not surprising. There's always a monopoly over that kind of thing. Yeah. It's essentially going into the pharmaceutical industry now.
In a way, which is, it shouldn't be treated like a pharmaceutical product.
But of course it is. It's being used medicinally.
Yeah, and the medicinal thing's fucking weird. Do you ever get those, like, those weed provider ads, like, join Alternaleaf and get alternative, they call it alternative healthcare?
Oh, really?
I just find it a joke. It's like, smoking is not an act of health care. Like, maybe if you're like, but even if you have medicinal things, like you've got glaucoma or, like, cancer, you still shouldn't be smoking cannabis. You should, if you want to get the therapeutic benefits, you should ingest it or take it as an oil. Like, you don't, it's just as funny. And the ads are
they've gone about it in a really weird way in Australia. I agree with you.
Old boys club.
But it's just, what is it about, like, why would you want to be a cannabis grower?
I wouldn't want to be something like a grower would be nice, but I would more just like to open like a retail shop, like a high end kind of like they call it a head shop. You ever go to like Windsor Green or places like that? It's just like high end. Fucking kids in the library, get the fuck out. Nah, just like a high end, like I've always liked the idea of creating a cannabis social club where it's like every month there's like a dinner that gets hosted. It's like a networking event. People come, they smoke, just like having a live, like an events kind of business where people come, just like people come to a bar and drink.
Oh yeah, they have that in like Spain and stuff like that.
Spain's got a massively like awesome cannabis culture, and they've actually invented a certain type of like wax and dabs over there. I can't remember the name of it, but they've got a really cool culture over there for cannabis.
Okay, so you'd want to do that.
Yeah, more like that. And like it'd be cool to own. There's a company in Colorado called 710 Labs that's like it's like a small batch making dab company, and they're like very independently run. They make some of the best dabs that are revered around the whole of America, but they're very like small business, but they've got like that cultural stamp. Because the thing is with America, a lot of these dispensaries are getting flamed because the weed's just so mass produced now that it's just pumped with chemicals. And it's like what Woolworths has done to fruit and veg. Now there's like this culture of like, if you're going to buy cannabis, like buy local and organic kind of thing. Like the same things kind of happen in that world. And it just makes sense. Like industrialization at a mass scale can just fuck the quality. But you think it's good quality because the fruits and vegetables or the weed are bigger and they look nicer, but they're not actually like what's under the surface isn't as good. Yeah, anyways, how have you been?
Pretty good. Yep, just plugging away. Started back up at uni.
Nice.
Which is cool.
And you're studying what?
Teaching.
I know. I know what you're studying, but our friends listening and watching know.
Yeah,
So you're gonna fix the youth crime problem?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not gonna work with criminals. I'll just get them detention.
But that's how they start. They start young.
I'll change. I can change that.
What are you gonna do if like a student hits on you or like falls in love with you? Because like coming from an all male boys school, if there was even just like a moderately attractive female teacher,
primary school.
She got fucking we harassed. Well, not me. I was perfect, but like in primary school,
I'm gonna like put them in their place.
Or in primary school, there was.
I'm very much like this is not acceptable. Like I was working with a guy and he was making all these sexist jokes, which I'm fine. Like I have a sense of humor. But he was going way too far, and I said point blank to him, like, that this is not okay. This is what my boundaries are.
You just laugh.
These jokes are not okay.
That's good.
Because I just can't be bothered, like, being uncomfortable in a situation. And so I can imagine if I'm at work, I will do the same thing with these children and explain to them why it's not okay. It's just another lesson, really.
What would take you to enact, like, like an actual act of violence on someone, like this dude that's like saying sexist shit at work that's like pissing you off? Good on you for standing up. But is there anything in your life that you would like just hit someone over? I don't know, like the female imperative's tenacity for violence is very, very low.
If they hit me, then I would probably hit them. If they continually cross my boundaries in a way where I'm starting to feel really unsafe, or they're genuinely just fucking aggravating me and they're not listening, then I'd probably smack them. Yeah,
what kind of smack would you go? Would it be like an open hand, like slap first, or would it be like a full closed fist? Like how do you do it? Because I reckon a slap can be so I think disrespectful.
More like a pusher.
No pusher.
Push away, like
fuck you, man. I'm fucking playing.
Yeah, or a bit. No, I think a bit of a punch as well. Yeah, I haven't really done it. I'm not. This is probably not okay to say on a podcast, but it was more of a push away. I had a boyfriend and he was drawing on me and I said to him, please don't draw on me. Like, I don't want to be drawn. I don't want toxins like that in my body, even though I've been taking drugs at doofs like the whole year. But anyway, and I continually said it and he kept doing it and I like shoved him. I was like, stop doing it. And I still think about that and I like regret it, but I think in that situation my boundaries were crossed so many times. He wasn't listening to me. I shouldn't have resorted to that, but that's probably like the threshold for me. I don't like.
Have you ever been in a fight?
I've been in verbal fights.
I got in a fight with hair pulling, scratching, like none of that.
No, a friend like pushed me to the ground once. But I was in the wrong.
What kind of friend is that?
You know her.
Or you're getting checked about something.
Oh shit, that definitely came through the mic. Anyway, it's fine. Whatever. But yeah, no, basically we were at, you know that dumpling place in Melbourne?
Yeah, and she's like,
Shanghai
I want the last dumpling.
It was so good. And we were all there and we were drunk off our heads. And we used to go there and like we'd eat and then just walk out. Like we were dumb.
When was this?
This was like, we were like 17.
Oh, okay.
Drunk as. Anyway, we did that with like a massive group. And we all walked out like we always do. I'm really sorry to that place. I wouldn't do that now. It's awful. But Molly and another friend. Oh, sorry.
Exposed. For all the thousands of people to listen to.
Yeah, literally. They got stuck. Like the restaurant people like kept them in there. And then Molly came out and was like, "You got to come back in." And I was like, "No, I'm not coming back in." And she pushed me to the ground.
Oh, really?
Which, looking back on it, I'm like, that's so fair. Like,
but wasn't she involved in the stealing of the dumplings too? Or did she pay her fair way?
She felt bad, so she kind of like let herself get caught.
But did she pay for the dumplings?
I think she was like, they were gonna make her. They were gonna make her pay for all of it.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and so she was like, you gotta pay. Like, I don't know. It was just amazing.
Why do you have to pay though? If everyone's stolen it?
Yeah, it was honestly a cook situation. But yeah, I got pushed to the ground, which is, that's like the biggest like fight I've ever been in.
It's pretty blessed.
Yeah, it's chill. It was sad. I was really sad.
I kind of wish I got in more fights as a young man. I feel like I was quite tall from a very young age, so I felt like people didn't press me. And God, I like poked the bear in many situations in my life, and I was such a troll all my life. But I never really like got hit for it, which is surprising. And being I don't know. I think like I just matured earlier, so it's just like I think men size each other up before they commit acts of violence. So it's just like, could I win this? Is always like the first thing you think of before you want to like throw a punch, kind of thing.
Do you think that you would have won those fights?
I don't know. There was only one time I've ever been in like a physical altercation. It was like a week after my I might have told the story before, but it was like a week after I got my fingers tattooed, and I thought I was like hot shit. And I'm catching the train home from when I was working at this burger place, and I'm like on the train station. This like dude crosses the tracks with his like little tiny French girlfriend, junky ass dude. Anyway, they're around the corner in the car park waiting for the train, smoking a ciggy, and I just hear him yelling at his girlfriend, being like, "You fucking bitch, you fucking." Shut up! And I'm just like, yo, this chick's like 4'11", and this guy's just like giving me like bad energy. So I like, me being like the savior of the women in the night, I pop my head around the corner and I go, "Hey man, can you like shut the fuck up?" And he goes like, "Fuck, what'd you say?" I go, "Mate, if you don't know how to talk to your girlfriend, like, can you fucking just at least like shut up?" Anyway, and then like next minute he like gets up, starts like walking over to me, and the next minute I've been hit and I got knocked out. But I didn't realize what had occurred. I didn't even really feel it. I remember him walking over to me, and next minute I'm like coming to, and I'm on the ground, like looking up and like sort of getting up, being like, and it took me a while to process. I had no idea I just got hit, but I was sort of doing rapid calculations in my head. I'm like, okay, he was walking towards me. Now I'm waking up on the floor. I think I just got hit in the face, and I had no feeling of pain, nothing. And I was just like, oh my God, I just got knocked out. And then it's just like, I got up, and then it's just like, I remember in that moment, I had no idea what to do. I remember just like not knowing, like, because like, as men, we shadow box in the mirror every fucking day. We watch UFC. We think we can do that. But I just remember in that moment, I didn't know how to stand. I didn't know if I had to stand like both my feet like next to each other, or like left foot forward or right foot forward. I remember just like being real weird. And then he comes at me, and like all I could do, because my legs are real long, was just like throw kicks at the cunt to try and like separate distance. No. And I'm just throwing kicks at him. And I'm just like sort of like, I don't know if like the only thing that sort of clicked in was like my old experience playing rugby. I was just going to go rugby tackle him and pick him up.
That would have been good.
And just go like Casey Hines. You know who Casey Hines is? Did you ever watch that video in school? Remember that fat kid who was getting bullied by some little like junkie kid? And it was like an old video, like potato quality. And this like fat kid from Australia just picks up this kid and just slams him on the ground. Wow. It was a viral video. I was going to do that. But anyway, so we're in this scuffle. PSOs end up coming over and breaking it up, and all the shit I've like talked about PSOs in my life. It's just funny. It's just funny. Like I've talked shit about so many cops in my life and PSOs, and rightly so. I've had a lot of negative experiences, but like when you need them, it's kind of nice that they're there. Yeah. So yeah, they broke it up, And then he was trying to instigate that I attacked him first. And the only witness to the whole situation was his girlfriend at the time. And she ended up admitting and snitching on him.
Yeah, good for her.
And it's funny. I just remember the whole
he
time.
He sounded like a dickhead.
Oh, he was loose as. And I remember I got a statement. The guy's like aggressive. They're arresting him. And they're like getting my statement and my details while holding his ID with his license on it. And I like, while I'm writing down my details, whatever, I'm looking at the guy's ID because the cop's holding it in his hand. And I memorized the guy's full name. And then as I was like walking away, because I'd missed my last train, the cop was going to offer to drive me home, which was nice because I was like, the last train just went. I'm now stuck here in fucking Morty Alex Station. And as I was walking past the guy, I went, your name's, and I just said his full name. And I said, and I even said the address that he lived at. And I said, oh, you're blah, blah, blah from yeah. I'm going to come and see you soon. Just because like, that's the type of person I am. I always have to have like the last say in situations like that. And I think he was so tripped out. He was like, yeah, brother, come and pay me a visit.
I kind of like that he responded like that.
He was nuts.
Like, he was confident.
Yeah, he was. But he was also just like, I
like that vibe.
we love a...
He's not deterred.
We love a bad boy psycho. But yeah, I got a letter like a couple months later that he like did like a month in like jail for like assault.
Oh, really?
And I got like a little letter in the mail, like updating me on that
assault
situation.
On who, like his girlfriend?
Assault on me.
Oh, what?
Yeah, because I asked her if I want to press charges. I just said yes, which is weird though, because I didn't go to court or anything for it.
Oh, well, because you were a minor, right?
Nah, I was like 21.
Oh, what?
I don't know.
That's really confusing.
Maybe he just like, yeah, it is weird.
Oh, no, it must have been because the cop was there at the time.
I have no idea.
Maybe. I don't know. But like, you haven't done martial arts, have you?
No, I did karate when I was a little kid, but I just like cried every time.
You should come to classes.
I just cried every time my mum left. I did Muay Thai for a little bit, but then
they would have thought you were such a pussy.
I was a pussy.
These black belts watching this little Dave.
But it was like that Kimakai karate place. Yeah, what a pussy dog. Yeah. I did Muay Thai for a little bit, but then COVID happened, so the gym shut down. But I want to go back and do jujitsu. Jujitsu is like it's like murder yoga. Literally just yoga.
Murder yoga.
It is.
It's
like
a good way to describe
it's like yoga positions, but you learn how to kill someone.
I feel like it would feel so nice.
It would be good.
I really am into it now.
Yeah. Well, me and the boys, I got a mouth guard and gloves, and Josh has got gloves. And back when we would hang out with Andre, who's another friend of ours, we would like practice sparring and grappling. We'd have like rules, like you can't bend your fingers, you can't like go for your eye gouging, but like we'd just try and grapple and like just try.
Who's really good at it?
Andre was pretty good at it because I think he's had the most experience about it. I had really good cardio, so I would just like grapple with them. And like when you grapple and wrestle or like try, I'm not going to say I'm doing jujitsu because I have no idea how to do any jujitsu moves, but basically you're just trying to overpower each other, get each other in a lock, or like ideally the main objective is just try and choke each other out and just get someone to tap. It gasses you out physically so fast. You get so tired so fast because you're just expending like so much energy. It's really fun. Have you ever play fought with like a partner or something, or like wrestled and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. There's a really fun game you should play. It's you call it Steal the Sock, and like each of you wear one sock on one foot, and the game is to try and get the sock.
Fun.
Yeah, the game is to try and get the sock off the other person's foot. Me and Rachel play it all the time.
That's like really, really okay. I need to
fun.
I'll find someone.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And jiu-jitsu is one of those things, like, if you get good, you as a woman can just, like, own a fucking man. Because jiu-jitsu is, like, it's not always, like, strength does help, but it's more...
I've always wanted to own a man.
Yeah, fucking own it.
It's annoying when you have to keep buying them off the black market.
I know, and, like, renting them so expensive.
Yeah, I'm over it.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to ask you, speaking of, like, dating and stuff, that 20-year-old Bet Life girl.
Yeah.
We need an update.
She ghosted me.
No.
We moved on to the texting phase of it, and then there was one time where she wanted me to like call her, and I said I can't call you, I'm going out for dinner, and I have like a policy when I go out with like people, I don't be on my phone, but I can call you like the next day. She was fine with that. Next day, message her, I'm at the gym, and then just like, nah, haven't heard from her since. Gave her another message a couple of days later, didn't reply, and then I've just given her like one final message being like, yo, like I don't know if you're ghosting me or not, but I would appreciate the communication. It's like, I didn't really take you as the type. And I don't know how you go from giant long essays, this fucking long, for like 2 weeks. And then she asked for my number and we migrate there. And then I'm just like, ghosted. But that's just like that's just how it goes for a lot of men in the internet space, which is like all it is. It's like you might give them one ick or something, who knows, and it's just like they just don't reply anymore.
I wonder if you got jealous.
I think that might have been a component of it. I think it was like dating as a polyamorous person, there is this thing I call like the special snowflake syndrome, which is like a fair enough thing where like they're interested in you, but because they can't be like the most special snowflake in your life, that like they just don't, they entertain it, and then one little thing happens and they go, nah, well, what am I doing?
Yeah, so, I definitely think that's probably because she had said that she was jealous.
Yeah, but it was jealous in like a more just like, I don't know, like
sexual
kind of way. But I'm not really losing sleep over it. I've got a lot of things to do.
It's also like, for the average person, it's a very hard thing to navigate that kind of situation.
Yeah, and the poly world is like pretty fucking gay to date in, like unless you want to go associate with all these poly-friendly people. And it's like, it's weird. I find myself, even in all the things I strongly identify with and build my life around, or like sort of have my life, I won't say revolve around, but all the lifestyles that inhabit my life, like veganism or being polyamorous and stuff like that, the people that inhabit the culture associated with those things, I fucking detest them. Like, there's a lot of vegan people that just like piss me off, and they're all like pharmaceutical vaccine lovers. There's a lot of poly people who like have dyed hair and they're part of the whole queer spectrum things, and they call themselves unicorns, and it's just so fucking gay. And it's just like, it is, being as unique as I am is a very isolating experience.
Yeah.
In some other, because it's like you look sometimes in these things for us as a community, but then you go to that community and you go, you're actually all kind of like, maybe I'm just a judgmental shit.
But doesn't that maybe say something about, this is just an idea, I don't necessarily believe this, but doesn't that say something about the thing that community is based around?
Well, it depends. Like, I think some people who don't have that many interesting things about themselves, they self-identify with these things as like who they are as a person, whereas it's like my choice in veganism is just like, it's just how I go about like sourcing my clothes and like my food, and it's just like a principle and a value I have. I don't relate to it as like a pillar of like my identity anymore. I did when I was a lot younger, because you get into the community aspect and the activism aspect, but as you get older, you kind of realize if I'm just relating on these things, you kind of have to really go into it hard as an ideology and more than just like a principle and a value that I have. It's like some people who just like,
that's so interesting.
Yeah, it's like you can have a principle and a value, but if you just make it like, it's like being gay, for example. There's people who are gay, but there's people who make being gay their whole fucking identity.
And
it's like,
there's gay people that like don't even want to go to Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
Because it's too gay for them, kind of thing.
Have you heard of Gays Against Groomers?
Is that gay people against pedophiles?
It's essentially like that. It's like gay people and queer people who think like drag time, story times, like fucking like abusive to kids and like suspicious. It's like gay and
what's
queer.
What?
Drag queen story time is where like America, and then they even did it in like a school here in Springvale where they like, or a library here in Springvale where they bring drag queens in to like read storybooks to kids about like queerness and shit.
Oh, no.
And some people say like, oh, it's good, it's exposing them, but like drag queens are just inherently like a sexual. If anyone who's seen a drag queen show, they're inherently like a sexual performance. They don't
understand that kind of thing until they're older. They're not, like, kids aren't even awakened to their sexuality yet.
Isn't Big Bird enough? Like,
yeah, get Harold the Giraffe back in.
Like, you don't need, like, did you ever watch Powerpuff Girls?
Yeah.
Cartoon? You know, like, I can't remember the villain's name, but
it's Mojo Jojo.
There was Mojo Jojo, but there was also like a Powerpuff Girls. It was like this gay transsexual cross-dressing lobster.
What?
It was a villain in Powerpuff Girls, and like nobody really questioned that thing and what it was.
Powerpuff Girls, what, gay villain?
Yeah, gay villain. I'm typing in Powerpuff Girls gay lobster. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, him. This character. So him is a very androgynous, large lobster claws. But yeah, it's literally like a cross-dressing. It's a cross-dressing lobster that spoke like this, like Powerpuff Girls, and like
what the heck?
As a child, you watch that and you don't question it at all. So it's like, I don't think kids need to be like filled up with queer nonsense as much as like people think they do.
I see your sunnies and I was like, whoa.
But yeah, people just think.
No, so true. Yeah.
It's like,
you literally don't question it, and then
really
you become an adult and it's like, oh, okay, there's people that are gay, trans, LGBTQ+. It's not actually that complicated. Like, you don't need to be exposed to it as a child.
100%. I'm so glad I didn't grow up in this era as a child. Because I remember there was a story when I was only like a prep or year one. And I had two, like, when you're like in primary school, you make these sort of like little friendships with like whoever and anyone because you're a child and you don't have like preconceived judgments of people. So I did. My fucking toys are way better than yours, you loser. But yeah, I made friends with these two girls. Like, one was named Alicia, like one was Georgia. And like I remember like they came over to my house for a play date and we were in my bathroom and they were just like doing my makeup. And I was like frothing it. I thought it was sick. Well, like they're doing my hair, doing my makeup. They were being really nice to me. And I was all about it. I thought it was sick. But it's like, that happened today. They'd be like, oh my God, my son's trans. And like these fucking loser parents with like Murchison's by proxy would be like, my son's a queer boy. And they would affirm that so with true. These life-saving gender affirming care, which is such a demonic like title and such a demonic way to like describe this phenomenon happening.
Yeah, I remember there was this chick on Instagram, like Gross. An influencer, and she had a young like 3-year-old child, and she made a post saying, "Oh, I'm not really sure if I should call my girl like a girl or she. Like, I'm thinking I might just use they pronouns because it might be too confusing for her." And it was so good. Like, all the comments were saying, "Don't just call her a girl. You're the one that's confused.
Yeah.
She's a girl." And if she wants to change it, sure. But at the moment, she hasn't said anything. She's fucking 3 years old. Chill. It's
so gross. There's like articles out there about like how to tell if your child's trans before they're that age of like 1 year old. Like they can like do things. It's demonic. There's just like, this is a worry about social media. There's just like an inability for young people to discern who is like mentally ill on social media and giving them advice. Like I come across this Melbourne creator the other day. I can't remember her name, but like she had this video where she was on the bathroom floor having a mental breakdown because she couldn't have a shower because she's got ADHD and she suffers from executive dysfunction. Now, I do believe that is a thing. Like, I even have moments where I get stuck in my fucking van at work because I'm so plagued by my thoughts that I'm like horribly unproductive. But for her to do that and then set up a camera and then record it and then make sure the angle's good and then edit it, turn it into a video.
It's like, where's your executive dysfunction there?
It's so retarded. And then she's also got like a podcast where she's like a queer girl and like her whole brand is about being like queer and having low dopamine and executive dysfunction. And she like films her like crying freakouts and like puts it on social media. It's just like, I don't know. These people
I just wonder how much of that would have existed if we didn't have the internet.
I don't know. It's insane. Like,
it's one thing to go through that, and I have total sympathy for people that experience it. But actually, like, what is the benefit of everyone being able to see that? Are you just normalizing it? Because I don't know. I don't know. It makes me so glad I'm not on the internet as much as I used to be.
I would love to if I found the time and energy and motivation to like do some deep dive on the relationship between some social media influencers and the pharmaceutical industrial complex, and like ask some of these creators through lobbying, sort of pushing this narrative of like ADHD and medication and all these things.
Being sponsored by the pharmaceutical
essentially,
industries.
but being sponsored sort of like without even really like knowing it. Like there's just like this massive push culturally to sort of have these ADHD phenomenons in everyone. Is it China wanting us all to be like riddled with?
Yeah,
I got a friend.
Everyone's weak ass. Think about the next generation. They're all going to be ADHD, autistic, every acronym you can possibly be, to the point where they won't even be able to work because they're so dysfunctional as people.
Yeah, and China's putting boats like in the international waters, just like close to Australia. So like it's popping up.
So like, scary.
I wish I researched more on that, but I don't know.
It's something about they have boats like off Tasmania at the moment.
Yeah,
so lame. But okay, can I just tell you what I've been deep diving?
Yeah, what are you?
And it was spawned by you mentioning briefly about the red pill guys.
Yeah.
And after that, I was thinking, oh, what is red pill? What is this thing? And I
It's like your type of men, I feel.
No
I'm just
way. Oh,
but they're all like they're all like the Charlie Kirks of the world. Like that's like
Charlie
red
Kirk
pill.
is not red pill.
Charlie Kirk is king red pill.
Know what red pill is then? Because I'm an expert now.
Okay,
I went on Reddit.
Tell me what red pill is.
I researched. It's all about incel culture. So for anyone that doesn't know, I've been telling everyone this. People don't know what incels are still. An incel is an involuntarily celibate person. The term was actually coined by a woman who was an incel, but it's now,
you've got the law.
I would say, mostly affects, or it's mostly a male thing, I would say. Essentially, there's different coloured pills. So the pills comes from the Matrix, where they have the red pill and the blue pill. Now, if you take the red pill, it means that you've, in bunny ears, woken up to the reality of the world. And that reality is that women only want you as a man if you're attractive. And if a hot woman is with an ugly guy, she's only with him for his money. And that's
for the value
the red pill guy. So they believe if they're ugly and they're still a virgin or they just can't get women, the red pill guy believes they can change this about themselves. So they go to gyms, they do pickup artist courses, things like The Game. If anyone remembers The Game, it was like a really terrifying book that came out where
I read it.
It was basically a pickup artist thing. But then there's black pill incels.
What's the black pill?
They believe that there is no hope. So essentially there's different ideologies in it. One of them is if your skull shape is even a little bit is wrong,
or if you're under 6 foot,
there's nothing you can do to change that. They're the ones that are going to, in fact, they're beyond plastic surgery. That's more red pill guy. There's some that believe that if your wrist girth is too small,
wrist girth,
then a woman's not going to be interested in you. These are the ones that are like, there is no hope. I'm either going to kill myself or kill women. It's fucking crazy.
So what's your opinion about that? Do you reckon there is some essence of truth about that? Because the dating landscape now for men, there's like no chance you're going to meet a nice girl from your local town. The nature is online. It's ultra competitive. You're trying to approach women's attention on apps where you're algorithmically designed for like a pay to win process. There are some dudes who are just like, unfortunately, just like very disfigured and just like copped the bad genetic gene pool. And I don't know, like, and there's also like so much cultural propaganda being pumped into everyone's brains about like what a man should be like. And like, there's this like, even things like women having icks and things like that. And women putting like, you know, you must be over 6 foot in their fucking Tinder bio. There's a lot of like things. So I can sort of understand some men just checking out, staying home, playing video games and smoking weed. Like even when like Fet life women ghost me, like I can sort of sympathize a little bit, but it's also like a lot of these men do dig their holes a lot deeper. So do you reckon there's some element
digging their holes way too deep? Look at how many ugly dudes out there in the world have girlfriends.
Yeah, but they're probably really funny.
Or exactly.
Or they have money.
You don't have to be rich.
Yeah.
You can be funny. You can be confident. You can have an interesting hobby that your weird ass partner is into as well. Like there's so many different ways of having hope. And I actually listened to a podcast and they were interviewing an incel.
Yeah,
and he was really open with them. And he basically said, like, I'm the type of guy that women want the bad boy. They want the fun guy. He was like an intellectual, sounded really smart. He was good looking still, but he said, I'm the guy that women want to settle down with. They'll wait until they're in their mid-30s. I'm not the fun guy. And he was really cut up about it. And so he identified as an incel and was salty as about it. But the thing is that he's looking at the women that are the OnlyFans.
Yeah,
they're the ones posting on Instagram with their tits out all the time.
Chronically online.
And it's like, if you're wanting these hot, objectifying themselves, even just like an objectively hot woman, but you're not this bad boy thing that they want, then you're going for the wrong type of girl.
Yeah.
And that's on you.
Yeah, you sort of got to sort of look yourself in the mirror and be a lot more humble and modest with like what you can provide, both aesthetically, physically, just in your character, and just like where you are, because it is true that like you're a man who is successful and you make a lot of money, getting women's attention is just incredibly a lot easier. But are you attracting women that are going to take you seriously, or are they attracting people in a more vain, hedonistic concept? Because
exactly
it's like you might be able to attract these women, but it's just like they might cheat on you. The second, it's more of a competitive field. It's more of a status thing. And the second there's another guy with a bigger yacht, with bigger money, that's just as hot, maybe even hotter, they're just going to bounce from one person to another. That's not how you build like these things that this incel might be searching for. They're not things they're not going to predicate a healthy relationship, like sort of test, sort of outlast the test of time, really. Like, because that's like loyalty, understanding, connection. That's all the stuff you need to build upon. But just to get your foot in the door can be hard. I don't know, for a lot, but it's also hard for others.
Completely turned women into this otherworldly thing that can never be understood. In some of these forums, they call women femoids. Which is alienating, literally alienating them.
Yeah.
And it's not seeing them for the entire person that they are. It's just seeing them as this not thinking, everyone thinks the same way. And even this guy on the podcast, he was like, the majority of women. And the person interviewing him kept saying, well, there's a minority too.
Yeah.
There's women that don't think like this. There's women that like smart guys, blah, blah, blah. And he couldn't see that.
Yeah, you sort of get into like a pity party if you have that kind of realm of thinking. And I've even read Reddit posts in like seduction subreddits and stuff like that, where it's like the dude is clearly just like, you can see why he's chronically an incel or chronically single or has no success. Just the way he talks about himself, the way he talks about the world. It has this, you lull yourself into this unrealistic version of reality where you are a victim. And it's also like a scapegoat way for like your shortcomings. If you just believe in this, it's sort of a lot easier to go for that than actually objectively like working on yourself, looking in the mirror. Because like it is hard to improve yourself, even in like my approaches to like cold approaching. It is hard. It's stressful. And like we've grown up, a lot of men growing up now, they grow up online. They go, well, I guess it was nice to grow up in a time where I do remember the internet not being such a massive thing. And like, I remember social media sort of coming out, and like a lot of my early formative years going to a co-ed school up until I was maybe 10. And then I went to an all boys school, which I think was also a terrible thing for someone's development. But I had a lot of formative years talking to like girls, but like even now it's like kids are getting phones when they're super young. And I feel like the culture is just like, we're not really naturalizing people when it comes to talking to women from like a young age, because we're going to gendered schools, this and that. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like, I wish I could be a fly on the wall of like current culture for kids in like the public school. I guess you'll have an exposure to this when you're a teacher.
I do genuinely.
It's more alienating.
This is not about more, I guess, young adults, but I genuinely do think porn and social media has made such a horrible impact, because it is so like our brains actually don't know the difference between reality and fantasy. There's been studies on it. They kind of don't know the difference. And so when you're constantly
in what sense though? Because I
as
reckon they definitely can.
Well, in this sense, right? A young man is looking constantly at pictures of women with that might be Photoshop, might not be. Emily Ratajkowski, for example, hottest fucking person in the entire world. They're just looking at her and they then think that's what every woman looks like.
I think that's a very incel take. I think,
but it's the same with porn.
I think
even
biologically,
subconsciously, that's what these young men think, that's what sex is actually like.
No, they don't though.
They do.
That's like uneducated, like poor, like men. That's like saying like people get an idea of how to drive from playing Grand Theft Auto.
But when you're a kid and you haven't driven before, that's kind of what you think driving is going to be like.
No, because you look around the world and you see like hopefully good examples of driving.
But with sex, you're not seeing sex in real life unless like you just wouldn't before you've had sex. You're only really experiencing it through porn. And if you're taking that in every single day...
But we have a thing called sexual education, which should be a better thing.
They're not telling you what it's actually like.
Yeah, and that's more of a fault of the education these kids are getting. If you're not providing a kids with a great education, either from the school or from their parents, and the internet raises your kids, you can't be shocked that they have warped ideals.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that is the reality. That's not how it should be, but that is the reality. And that's why incel culture has become so big. People's brains are cooked from this stuff. Like, and it's really actually quite scary and really, really sad to hear and to see that this is where people's minds are going. Yeah. And they feel stuck in this, and then they're going on Reddit and it's being confirmed it's being validated.
We create these echo chambers of like suffering, which is like even like going in the comments of that girl that films her breakdowns on the floor. It's all, you're so brave, you're so strong. It's like through social media and this algorithmic approach to content and our feeds, we can just like make up whatever fucking shit world we want for ourselves, and everyone's just going to validate us, and we're going to find a community that validates us. And it's like, it can be like a prison of our own designs in a way, where it's like no matter what you put out, negative or positive, you're going to have a resounding reinforcement feedback loop of that. And it's just like, if you just got the shit end of the stick with like not having, like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of these things could be curbed if you just had like, and my father taught me no skills with talking to women. You know, like, and I can sort of like attest to this in a way. My father taught me no skills of talking to women, did not model a healthy relationship with my mother at all. I learned about sex through pornography from a very young age. I first watched porn when I was like 9 years old because I discovered it accidentally on LimeWire when I was typing the word typed in the word penis. Like ha ha ha, and suddenly I'm just like downloading like old school fucking pornography, and that was like confronting as fuck, and it definitely like it's not a healthy way to approach kind of that. But it's also like I always was able to discern, and I think it requires some level of critical thinking and intellect, and also discerning that this is fantasy kind of thing, and the discerning. I was all able to discern that like porn wasn't a reality. You can take inspiration from it for how you want to explore your sex life, certain positions, moves, what to do, something like that. But I feel like to not be able to discern that line of reality and fantasy, and also like even if a young man gets all of his ideas of what sex is from porn, I can guarantee the first time he's having sex, he's not fucking like a porn star. He's being clumsy. He's like not doing a good job. He's probably busting in 3 seconds. So it's just like, from there, it's just about like, is he in a good dynamic with the person he's exploring with to sort of have that clumsy first experience time to learn what sex is kind of thing? Because even like, there's even porn that I watch where it's just like, that type of sex doesn't really become in my sex life. It's just like, it is just fantasy. But yeah, we do definitely need less of a reliance on porn for like young people when it comes to just understanding sex, because it is fucking people up.
Yeah, but I feel it's like sad. That's even like beyond.
I feel bad for the incels. This is why I like people like
bad for them.
This is honestly why I like people like Tate, and I know you don't like Tate, but some of the suggestions he has for young men, I know a lot of it's clipped in like in a very misogynistic frame, but a lot of the advice he has for young men is genuinely like quite positive. For like, you know, like the girl broke up with you not because like she's rude, she broke up with you because you're a fucking loser, and like you need to like work on yourself, go to the gym, like train hard, have something to focus on. Like if you're just obsessing over women and they're dumping you, like you need to take full accountability for that and like improve your life kind of thing and be something that's like worth like people's time kind of thing. And I don't know, like it's just, we talked about this on the last podcast.
It's so tricky.
It's just, there's just not many masculine role models for men if they don't get that from their immediate family. It's sad.
I think that's the thing for me is what he's saying is good. But can you imagine a father being like that to his child? When you said that people's dads aren't like this, so thank goodness for Andrew Tate for being like this. It's great. He's saying the right things, but actually imagine if a father was like that to his kid.
Well, he is a father.
He was like, you're a fucking loser.
Well,
you suck. Get to the gym, blah, blah, blah. It's like you're kind of negging people. You're breaking them down until they come up. And I wonder if that is the right way to go about actual proper healing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like, I don't know. I think like the way he talks about it is a very sensationalist kind of way. I feel like if you had more of a duty of care to your child, you'd be a lot like different in your approach kind of thing. But I believe it's like, if you're executing love and compassion for like a child a lot of the time, and there is this like clear sentiment that like, yes, my father loves me and I respect him, if you do some dumb shit and you start acting like a fucking loser and he tells you you're acting like a fucking loser, I don't think the idea of you being a loser will just predicate over everything and you'll just genuinely think all you are is a loser, because it's about a balance. It's like, you know, this person's loving you and doing all the things they need to do for you to respect them as a father and like feel that love. But it's just like, if you don't get any of that and then they just call you a fucking loser, then maybe you just will think you're a loser. So I think it's like a type of balance. I think like just only affirming and being like, I don't know, like I sometimes think I would like to be a gentle parent, but there's also some elements where I believe like you need to have some sense of tenacity with your kids.
Absolutely.
Especially from like a male frame.
As the man, I believe that you are the leader of the family. That's not to say that you're squashing anyone's opinions down or anything, but you do have the ability to put your foot down and say this is not on. Where people actually listen to it.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that is something that is a little bit rarer to find these days in men, which is a shame. And I think men finding their masculinity again is a difficult process. Everyone's kind of just fumbling along. There's Andrew Tate, there's Charlie Kirk.
It's demonized so heavily too.
Everyone's trying to scramble to find the right way, and maybe that just hasn't quite been done yet. Just the same as probably it was with women finding their femininity again. We went through the suffragettes, then we went through the feminists, then we went through the sacred feminine, and now we're maybe in a better place. I think that's what's happening with men at the moment, internally, trying to find their healthy.
Yeah, I think masculinity is essentially demonized a lot of the time, and a lot of the masculine role models that like the culture and I guess like the industry sort of projects aren't really resonating with a lot of young men. Like they're not really looking at this being like, I want to be like that. So when people like Tate comes along, the pendulum of culture, I guess in the West, has swung so far to like more left-leaning liberal demographics for some time. So when someone like Tate comes along, who has a lot of things I don't agree with how he says and the character that he envelops, but like it's like when the culture shifts so far to one way, it like the pendulum needs to sort of equalize out, so you end up with characters like Tate kind of thing. And it would be the same thing if like our culture in the West was just so far right leaning, like we were just all like following like Republican, conservative, fucking, you know, abortion is wrong things. You would have sort of like someone come out on the other side that is just super popular, and it's like this constant swing of trying to equalize and find balance in this kind of thing. So I appreciate Tate's his position in the culture when it comes to it. It just got so far ridiculous on one side with the last, I guess I'd say the last 6 or 7 years of censorship and demonization and just like weakness. So it's like him coming in and just fucking everything, or not, like just sort of talking in the way that he does has sort of allowed a lot of guys to sort of be like, okay, I don't have to be such a like a weak bitch who's like, you know, afraid of his masculinity. But it is like, if it does swing too far to one side of like, now you're ultra masculine and you're not speaking in soft ways, that can be a dangerous thing too. So it's all about just like finding
social
like a good balance.
Yeah,
social homeostasis. And just also just like ingesting content and advice from people from different spectrums, and then finding like something that, you know, means more to you. But
yeah, and being able to have that nuance as well of cherry picking, and I think it's good not to completely identify with these people. Like, oh, because I follow Andrew Tate, that means I follow all his opinions. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like that.
Pick and choose.
But I want to ask you, what men do you highly respect? Their opinions. What men do you kind of aspire to be more like?
I can't have a list in my phone. It's not a list of men I love, but it's
he's so prepared.
It's like entrepreneurs that I respect, and a lot of the time, the people that, you know, you become a successful entrepreneur based upon the qualities that you sort of have. So prepared. There's not many. There's like, this isn't a very, very, very good list. I don't really know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. People like Derek Bros is an independent journalist. I love his holistic approach to conscious resistance, as he sort of talks about it. He has such a great grip of where the world's at and fighting, but also intertwining that sense of like fighting corruption, but also intertwining. Because a lot of these, like, that's what I do like about things like Candace Owens and stuff on like the Republican conservative side. There's a lot of people that are uncovering this corruption and being very strong and speaking with conviction, but their only sense of like spirituality around it is very dogmatic in religion. Whereas I find that like a lot of these battles that we're going on against evil, you don't have to like, I like Derek's approach because it is a very holistic kind of spiritual like approach, which I kind of like, but it's not so far of like you're just a fucking hippie. So I love people like him. I don't know, I like people like the Tate brothers. I think some of the things they say is fucking wild, but at the end of the day, like their camaraderie as brothers in their family is like very respectable. The way they talk about each other, the way they talk about their family, the way they talk about just like camaraderie in that is really, really, really beautiful. But I don't know, I'm just trying to think of like, I'm sort of drawing a blank of like people in my life that I'm sort of looking up to. There's different entrepreneurs that I like. There's Patrick Bet-David. I think he's a really like beautiful leader. He's an entrepreneur and podcast host. People like Bradley Martin is great. He's like this big buff YouTuber dude who also has a podcast, but he is very just like very strong, very fit, bodybuilder type of guy. But he'll go on a podcast and he'll talk about how, you know, his father's suicide when he was 10 affects him, and he'll openly just cry on like the podcast because he's like brings up these emotions, but he's not scared of that. And I think that is an essence of like divine masculinity. So people like that, I like. But people who are just like really grounded. I really
do think this is so simple, being able to show your emotion and feel your emotions. It's so scary to me how many men, their way of feeling their emotions is by getting angry.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's so scary to me.
Yeah, it's like when you see these men's groups who go out to the forest and they do these like, have you seen those like, processing your trauma, healing things? Yeah, but it's like if you're just going out to the fucking bush and screaming and like banging a stick on the ground, you're kind of mentally ill. Like I see it as like, and it's like I see a lot of these.
I feel like that's more like a somatic thing.
I don't know. There's something about like a bunch of people doing breathwork on a floor and just like crying that just like kind of reminds me of mass psychosis a little bit. Not to say breathwork isn't a powerful experience.
Crazy.
Not to say all these things aren't great, but like I feel like it's getting overdone a little bit. Maybe it's just my algorithm. It's just like all these.
Maybe feeling like it's
kind of gay.
It's obsessing, or like it's using just one avenue where it should be more holistic.
Yeah, I think like I don't know. I'm just a big advocate of like plant medicines, going to do things like ibogaine experiences, maybe going doing like ayahuasca, having these like transformational plant assisted sort of experiences, but just like having some dude who's just like some fucking self-diagnosed like yogi telling me I need to like process through my trauma and just like cry it out with a bunch of men who are all circle jerking in a circle.
So you'd rather have a self-professed shaman where you can vomit it out?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. It just seems a bit more like it seems a bit more official. I don't know. Maybe I'm just buying into the whole shaman like branding trap kind of thing. But,
I think a little bit.
But I don't know. I like the idea of what stoicism embodies with like Marcus Aurelius and all of that. Where it's just like at the end of the day, like, and I've got a lot of traumas. I think at the end of the day, like as a man, you sort of got to just like carry your burdens with you a little bit.
Dave.
Like,
no.
Yeah, but it's like, are you fully gonna just like purge these problems out of you to the point where you're just like, I don't know. I think like
you need to.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know if that ever happens.
It does. It definitely happens.
So what? Everything that's ever happened to you negatively, it'll never concern, or you'll never relate to it, or you'll never think about it ever again for the rest of your life.
No, it's not like that. It's more working through it to the point where it's not coming up. You're not getting triggered by things subconsciously, and then you're all of a sudden really angry.
Don't you think you can draw
all
power?
Of a sudden withdrawn from your partner, and you haven't spoken for 3 hours, and you don't know why, but it's because you got triggered by something that she did that happened in your childhood.
Yeah,
and because
definitely.
you haven't done any kind of therapy or somatic work or even plant medicine and integration with the plant medicine, you just haven't spoken. You've withdrawn, or you're like punching a wall.
Yeah.
That's the problem that I have, that I think a lot of men, especially in the boomer generation, struggle with.
100%.
And they don't even know what it is.
Yeah, that's like if you're like acting out based on these traumas. I'm more thinking about like the more internalized narrative that you might have. You might go through these experiences and they might plague you mentally, but you're able just to sort of carry that, go home, be the person you need to be for your partner, for your family, for your kids, show up to work, do the things you need to do, But at the end of the day, like these things will come up in your mind. That's sort of where I'm at in a lot of things. Like these things will come up, and there are things that I do to mitigate them. Like if I'm having a healthy routine, if I'm doing everything I need to do, if I'm physically training, if I'm making sure my nutrition's right, all of these, it's like a volcano that is like very simmered. It's like non-active. But if I fall off, these things will like get a lot better, and then my trauma comes in, and it fucking makes it all a lot kind of worse thing. Like I think like therapy and all these things, I feel like but I also think sometimes in those traumatic experiences, you can draw a sense of power from them. They can be motivating. You can be like, I've been through this, so I can motivate myself to like put myself in a better position. But there is also sometimes where it is a battle of like, can I use this as a source of power, or is it just like a burden or a plague that I'm carrying? It's like fucking me over. But
yes. I think it's about being able to introspect.
Yeah.
And if it's coming up a lot and it's holding you back from things, then yeah, okay, look into ways to work through it. But if it is something that you are able to alchemize, then great. That's awesome. And like you've done a lot of work and you've tried a lot of different methods. And so I would say that you're quite on top of it.
Yeah, definitely could be doing more radical shit.
I think, yeah, and I think that it's so lame to say it and it's almost unhelpful, but the first step is being able to identify that there is a problem, which the problem is that a lot of people don't do that or can't do that or don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And you have done that, which is great.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a really great lesson to teach people.
Yeah. I think one of the things I'm sort of battling with the most right now, and I'm just noticing this with like, there are some days where I'm really noticing lately, like arc that I'm on, lately, the things I do in the morning and how much of an effect it has on the rest of my fucking day, not just mentally, but even like the physical effects that I feel. And I think like I am getting so much more into an optimal state where I'm doing all these things out the fucking wazoo, from eating right, sleeping right, working out right, then doing all the extra things on top of those pillars like red light therapy, this and that, biohacking kind of things. But there are some days where like I wake up, I snooze my alarm, I go back to sleep, I wake up, I reach for the phone, I don't hydrate in the mornings, I fucking get to work, I'm on my phone, I'm scrolling, I'm brain rotting, and then like my brain feels like it has inflammation, and it's like, but then there's other days where I wake up before the sun's up, I go outside, I get first light, I'm drinking my salt water, I'm journaling in the morning, I don't touch my phone for the first fucking 2 hours of the day, and I feel fucking great for the whole day, heaps of energy. So I feel like there's my beg your pardon.
Oh,
so sorry. There's like, it's such a serious like note to do that in. There's like two versions of myself that I am constantly at war with. It's like essentially like the higher version of myself, the person I'm trying to become, and the person that I used to be from many, many years of being like a loser drug dealer who just sat around on Centrelink for fucking nearly 10 fucking years of my life and just like fucked around. And it's like, he flares up sometimes, and it's like there's this person that I'm trying to be and the old person that I am, and they're always at war, not at war with themselves, but like if I let this person slip, this person can like take over, and it's just like I don't want this whole version of myself to fuck my life up and cause me to like have slips in productivity and work, but it's just like, and I know like the things I need to do, and when I do them, I feel fucking great. But then there's always this like inherent
there's a demon on your shoulder.
There's a demon on my shoulder, but then like the accessibility we have, or I just have, to self-sabotaging my life is just so easy. Like it's just all around me all the time. There's my phone. There's this. There's that. There's so many things to like fuck it up. But it's also like, why do I do that when I know on the days I don't do that I'm productive? I feel so good.
It's the constant battle between living weird. In the now and experiencing our vices and having that instant dopamine hit to thinking about the future you, because you're not living it yet.
Yeah.
It's so hard. It's constant. It's really hard, and it's amazing to even be on that path because most people are still living in their old selves. Yeah, they're not living to their potential, and 100%. You're actually trying to.
I'm just getting out of that matrix.
It is a battle, and like as a Christian, there's a really amazing verse that talks about the armor of God. Like every day, you have to put on the armor of God.
I like that. That's
shield,
cool.
You have your sword. You have your helmet, and even though you're not a Christian, you can use that.
No, I can relate to that.
In your daily life. Like you have to use the sword of truth. You have to use your shield against your phone and any other distraction.
I like that. That's cool.
Literally walking into battle every single day, because that's what it's like.
Yeah.
When you're trying to be better, you're battling your old self, your demons.
That's interesting. There's like a thing in like with like going to the Tara Institute, they talk about like the white light, that when you're meditating, you envision yourself being surrounded and filled with like white light, and as this white light leaves your body, it touches and just purifies everything around you. There's another like
so racist.
A little bit. It's really fucking racist.
It ain't white, it ain't right.
Yeah, there's another podcast I listen to where the podcast host every morning he does a 10-minute meditation, and he imagines like a bubble of like stoicism being like formed around him, and it's like he has to charge it up every single day, and he carries that with him for the whole day, and like anything problem wise that comes into his life, he's able just to like discern it, not overly react to it, and just be like calm through it. Also, it kind of sounds like the armor of God a little bit, imagining this like force field around you. It's like nothing can like.
I think being really like conscious of it. Also, it ain't white, it ain't right is a quote from Modern Family. I'm so sorry if that sounded racist. I just can't be bothered clipping it out. So, but yeah, it is really like that, and even just visualizing it and going into the day with it's, I guess, being conscious of it and understanding that it is really hard. And if you have to imagine yourself in a bubble, if that's what works, it works. Great. No,
and I find myself being able to hit my really productive like states more on the weekend when I'm not working, because this is like, I feel like even if you are on a path of like doing these things, if you got to wake up and go to a job that's not really like on the path you want to be for your life, that can just like kind of throw a monkey wrench, because you don't feel like you're in control of like your life. You're you're living for someone else.
We have to wrap up soon because I got to go to karate. But when you reach the goal, like when you were first getting this job, you would have been so stoked. I'm so happy to get out of hospital. I'm in this job. And now you're in the job. Yeah. There's sort of no excitement left in it.
Yeah.
But if you just wake up every day and remember, this was my goal. Yeah, this was my dream.
I do that. That's why I like the gratitude journal.
You're like literally living the dream.
Literally.
Like every middle-aged white man ever.
That's such a human thing though. And this is something where I feel like you're kind of good with like mitigating this like constant desire for like more. Like I feel like a lot of people, including myself, it's just like we get into these situations. I don't know if it's just a human thing or if it's like a ambitious masculine thing or something, but it's like you get to somewhere and you're like, all right, I'm here, but like, what's next? Like, I got to do something else. I got to keep working towards this like arbitrary fucking thing in the future kind of thing. And it's just like when I get there, then I'll feel like I'm like living in my purpose and I have my ikigai and my reason for being and like all these kind of things. But it's like to get there is like,
are you saying I'm good at not doing that?
You're good at like not like I don't know. I don't want to say like no and say like you're not ambitious, but like you're not like, I feel like you're good at not getting overworked over that concept. That makes sense.
Yeah, the only way I get through life is by having goals.
Okay.
Like, the only reason why I'm not going insane is because I'm going to America.
Yeah.
And then after I get back from America, I'll do my course, and then I'll be a teacher, and then I'll get married, and then I'll have kids. And, like, it's, like, constant goals.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'd just, like, want to die. Fuck being stagnant in something without having a place to go.
You don't reckon you just, like, vibe, just, like, being able to, like, hit the surf every day and just, like, chill?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I love it.
But you need something else more, like, bigger than that.
I always need, like, something to look forward to.
Yeah, something goal-orientated.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, like, end goal, for sure. Once I'm on my property, and I'm 5 minutes from the surf, and I got my animals, and I got my kids, and I got my hot husband.
Hell yeah.
Sweet.
How is the husband search
I got everything. It's
shit. Give us a scoop. Do you have any dates lined up?
Not really.
Have you just been on Hinge?
A little bit.
Fuck.
Yeah. But I actually have to go because I'm about to go to karate.
It's been a good episode. I only had two things I wanted to talk about today.
I think I sound a little bit racist at the end. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened there. But
Katie's not racist.
I'm not. I love everyone. Except for incels. Just kidding.
Black-pilled incels. Fuck off. No, we love you, incels. Go to the gym.
Yes.
Work on
Andrew Tate.
Work on cold approach.
And drink water.
That's it. Drink water, everyone. Love you all. Take care. Go hit some karate moves. Bye. That's nice.
I can't wait to listen back.
This is